as required by the Hong Kong Financial Reporting Standard number 3, so all business combination must be accounted for by using the acquisition method. Sometimes we call it acquisition method, acquisition accounting, purchase method, or purchase accounting. Anyway, acquire means purchase. So acquisition method is to be compared with the merger accounting. So merger accounting is for business combination under common control that we have talked about. This is a very special case that apply only for common control combination. But in most of the other cases, we must use acquisition method. So acquisition method means we view a business combination from the perspective of the combined entity that is identified as an acquirer. So we believe that there's an acquirer, there's an acquiree. So acquirer come to acquire the business of the acquiree. So once we have to use the acquisition methods, then we have to follow some steps. First, we have to identify the acquirer. Second, we have to determine the acquisition. After we have determined the acquisition date, we have to measure the cost of business combination. So that means the consideration that we have paid. And then we will recognize and measure the identifiable assets acquired, the liability assumed, and any non-controlling interest in the acquiree. And finally, item C represents the amount that we pay. Item D represents the net asset that we have obtained from this acquiree. So what we pay, item C, minus what we get, item D, is the goodwill. So if we pay more than the item that we can get, this is a goodwill. If you pay less than what we have got, then this is a gain from bargain purchase. So this is the step 1. Step 1 is we have to identify the acquirer. So for each business combination, we must identify the acquirer. It is the acquirer who come to acquire the business of the acquiree. So the acquirer is usually the combined entity that obtains control of the other combined entity. In usual case, it is easy to identify the acquirer because if party A come to acquire party B, of course party A is the acquirer. But in some case, the identification of acquirer will require some kind of judgment. Take an example. In this case, we consider A combined with B. Right? A combined with B. A can be 7-Eleven, B can be Circle K. If 7-Eleven try to combine with Circle K, many methods to effect the business combination. One method is they form a new company, Company C. This Company C will issue shares to acquire all the shares of both Company A and Company B. Therefore, C control everything of A and B. This is certainly a business combination because we combine the business of A and B together. So if this is a business combination, we have to identify the acquirer in accordance with the Hong Kong Financial Reporting number 3 business combination. So usually, in most of the case, it's easy, but in some case, it requires some kind of judgment. So now, who actually is the acquirer? You cannot tell. I cannot tell also, actually. The only thing that I can tell is C is certainly not the acquirer. Why? Because it is a business combination between A and B. Say for example, as I've said before, if A is 7-Eleven, B is Circle K. If Circle K combined with 7-Eleven, the acquirer must be either 7-Eleven or Circle K. Either 7-Eleven or Circle K. Surely not C. C is nobody to the business combination because this is a combination between 7-Eleven and Circle K. So we must determine either 7-Eleven or Circle K as the acquirer, only A or B. Usually the acquirer is the combined entity whose relative size is significantly greater than the others, but this is usually. So Hong Kong Financial Reporting Standard number 3 provides some further indicators. So usually the acquirer is the one who can retain or receive the largest portion of the voting right. Usually the acquirer is the one who can hold the largest minority voting right. Usually the acquirer is the one who is able to elect or appoint or to remove a majority of the member of the governing body. Usually the acquirer is the one who can dominate the management. and usually the acquirer is the one who is willing to pay a premium. In any case, this is just an indicator. No one of these items is conclusive. You have to consider all the facts and circumstances and make your own judgment to see which one is the acquirer. In most of the cases, as I've said before, it's not difficult to identify the acquirer. If 7-Eleven come to combine with Circle K, either the management of 7-Eleven will go out in front of the television saying that I acquired Circle K. If he said I acquired Circle K, so probably 7-Eleven is the acquirer, or it may be the other way around. The management of Circle K will come in front of the television saying that I acquired 7-Eleven. If that is the case, probably it is the Circle K which acquired 7-Eleven. So, take an example. Here, S is to acquire the operation with Z. The term of the business combination will be that Z will offer 2 of its shares in exchange for every 1 share of S held by the shareholder of S. There's no cash consideration. Usually, in the case where we have no cash consideration, it is more difficult to identify the acquirer, because if there is a cash consideration, if 7-Eleven come to pay cash to the shareholder of Circle K, so the shareholders of Circle K will get the money and they sell their shares. They are not a party of the acquisition anymore, and therefore 7-Eleven probably is the acquirer. The party who is willing to pay cash usually is the acquirer. But in this case, no cash, it's just a share exchange. So that's why we have to gather more facts and circumstances. Here we have been told that Z's market capitalization is 500 million and S is only 250. So Z is bigger, so it may give evidence that Z may be the acquirer. And after the issue of shares, the board of directors will be comprised of only directors of Z. So this is a strong indication that Z's management dominates the management. So that's why Z's management, or say Z is the acquirer, very likely. And the game is to be named as a Z group. So because Z is much bigger, this indicates that Z may be the acquirer. Because the directors, the management of Z will dominate the business combination, so therefore all this evidence suggests that Z is the acquirer. Always we have to consider all the facts and circumstances to determine the acquirer. In one very special case, it is somehow difficult to identify the acquirer. This special case is what we call reverse acquisition. Reverse acquisition is a very special case. Say for example, here on 1st of July 2005, P is a parent company arranged to have all its shares acquired by L. The arrangement required L to issue 20 million shares to P's shareholders in exchange for the existing all 6 million shares of P, and the existing shareholder of L will own 5 million shares of L. So this is the situation. So how is the situation? So actually L issued 20 million of shares to P's shareholder, and in exchange they get all the 6 million shares of P. So after this share exchange, L hold all the 6 million shares of P, and therefore they got 100% control over P. This is certainly a business combination because we combine the business of L and P together. If this is a business combination, we must identify the acquirer, either L or P. Let's see the situation. The situation is, after this share exchange, originally, shareholder of L, they have got 5 million shares of L. Still, they hold 5 million shares, but after the share exchange, this is 5 million out of 5 plus 20 millions, because L issued 20 million new shares. So 5 out of 25 is only 20%. The other way around, P's shareholders, they receive 20 million new shares of L, so they now have 20 million over 25. 20 over 25 is 80%. So after the business combination, Koo will stand in front of the television saying that I acquire the other company. So if L is 7-Eleven, P is Circle K, so probably management of the Circle K, management of P will come out and say that I acquire this business combination, I acquire this business. Why? Because it is the P's shareholder who control this combined entity. So this is a very special case. It is the company at the bottom who is the acquirer. Right? It is the P who become the acquirer. So that's why we call this reverse acquisition. This kind of very special case, reverse acquisition, is often initiated by P because P may have the motive of entering into such arrangement so as to obtain a backdoor listing. So we call this backdoor listing because P do not arrange IPO itself. Instead, it arranged to have its company, its business, injected into a listed company, and by injecting the business into a listed company, they obtain control of a listed group. So this is a backdoor listing. So by this backdoor listing, they achieve a listed status, and it's the company, it is the entity at the bottom who become the acquirer. So we call this reverse acquisition. When we need to calculate goodwill, when we need to calculate who paid the consideration, we have to consider that P actually paid the consideration. So P paid the consideration, and we measure the net assets of L. So if what we pay is more than what we get, this is a positive goodwill. But of course, this is just for the calculation of business combination, calculation of goodwill. When we do consolidation, of course, consolidation is between L and P. L have to consolidate P in legal sense.